In the summer of 2018, the serene town of Ridgway, Virginia, was rocked by a scandal that would uncover the dark side of a respected law enforcement officer. The body of 19-year-old Chloe Matthews, a vibrant college-bound cheerleader, was found in a secluded cabin, igniting a murder investigation that revealed a forbidden relationship with State Trooper Mark Reynolds. This is a story of betrayal, obsession, and tragedy that left a community in shock. It was a warm July evening when a local hiker, enjoying the quiet solitude of Ridgway's wooded outskirts, stumbled upon an abandoned cabin. The door was slightly ajar, and as he stepped closer, an eerie stillness hung in the air. Inside, the gruesome scene unfolded. Chloe's lifeless body lay on the dusty wooden floor, her wrists bound tightly with frayed rope. Dark bruises encircled her neck, unmistakable signs of strangulation. Once a cherished retreat for family getaways, the cabin had become the site of a gruesome crime. The hiker immediately contacted authorities, and within minutes, the Ridgway Police Department swarmed the area. Detective Sarah Bennett, known for her sharp instincts and keen investigative skills, took charge of the case. As she stepped into the cabin, she was struck by the methodical way the scene had been staged. It wasn't just the act itself, but the deliberate care taken to conceal any trace of the perpetrator. Fingerprints were wiped clean from prominent surfaces, and any items that could have held DNA evidence appeared to have been carefully removed or altered. Yet, Bennett's trained eye caught subtle details. A dusty boot print, half erased near the door, smudged as if in a hurried attempt to wipe it away. This wasn't a random act, she murmured, her eyes scanning the room for clues. Chloe's disappearance had been reported 2 days earlier by her frantic parents after she failed to return home from cheerleading practice. Now their worst fears had been realized. News of Chloe's murder spread like wildfire, sending shockwaves through the tight-knit community. Ridgway, a town where neighbors exchanged smiles and doors were left unlocked, was now the center of a harrowing mystery. Flowers, candles, and handwritten notes began to accumulate outside the cabin's entrance, a somber tribute to a young life cut short. Justice for Chloe became the rallying cry, but behind the outpouring of grief lurked whispers of suspicion. Rumors about Chloe's relationships and recent activities began circulating. Social media erupted with theories, ranging from an encounter with a stranger to the involvement of someone she trusted. Reporters descended upon Ridgway, broadcasting live updates and amplifying the community's unease. The once quiet town found itself under the glare of national attention, its residents grappling with a sense of betrayal and fear. As forensic teams combed through the cabin and surrounding area, they uncovered additional evidence that hinted at a calculated effort to stage the crime scene. Fingerprints on a window frame and a trail of disturbed grass leading to a nearby creek raised questions about the perpetrator's attempts to cover their tracks. Among the evidence discovered was an overlooked piece, a discarded bracelet with Chloe's initials engraved, its clasp broken as though it had been ripped off in a struggle. It was clear that whoever had committed this heinous act had gone to great lengths to evade detection, but small oversights left behind crucial leads. Mark Reynolds, a 54-year-old state trooper, was a man admired by many. With over 3 decades of service, he had built a reputation as a dependable and charismatic officer. His presence brought a sense of security to Ridgway, and his colleagues often spoke of his unwavering dedication to the badge. But beneath the polished uniform and confident demeanor lay a web of secrets. Mark's marriage to Emily, his high school sweetheart, appeared picture perfect. They shared a modest home filled with the laughter of friends and the aroma of home-cooked meals. Emily, a compassionate schoolteacher, often praised Mark as her anchor, the person who made life's challenges bearable. Together, they were a picture-perfect couple, frequently seen volunteering at local events or hosting neighborhood gatherings. Yet, cracks were forming in this picture of domestic bliss. Mark had grown distant, spending late nights at work and avoiding Emily's probing questions. Colleagues noticed subtle changes in his demeanor. He was quicker to anger, more withdrawn. The once sociable officer now avoided after-work drinks and casual banter. Unbeknownst to those around him, Mark was battling a storm of guilt and temptation, desperate to keep his personal life from unraveling. Mark's dual life required constant vigilance. He meticulously deleted incriminating messages and avoided situations that might expose his secrets. But the strain was evident. Friends began to wonder why the usually dependable Mark seemed distracted and tense. Emily, too, felt the growing distance. Her attempts to connect met with vague excuses and half-hearted reassurances. The perfect facade was beginning to crumble. Behind closed doors, Mark wrestled with the weight of his deception. He rationalized his actions, convincing himself that he could keep his personal and professional lives separate. But the walls were closing in. Each text from Chloe, each stolen glance at his phone during family dinners, served as a reminder of the fragile house of cards he had built. Chloe Matthews was the embodiment of promise. At 19, she was a star cheerleader with dreams of attending a prestigious university. Her radiant smile and boundless energy made her a natural leader, beloved by classmates and teachers alike. Chloe's future seemed as bright as the trophies that adorned her bedroom shelves. However, Chloe's personal life was far more complicated. Her parents' contentious divorce had left her longing for stability. Her father's absence and her mother's long work hours created a void she struggled to fill. Friends described Chloe as fiercely independent, yet beneath her confident exterior lay a young woman searching for validation and connection. Chloe's journals, discovered during the investigation, painted a portrait of someone grappling with insecurities. She wrote about feeling lost, about the pressure to excel, and about a yearning for someone who truly understood her. When Mark Reynolds entered her life, he seemed to be the answer to her unspoken prayers. Teachers often praised Chloe's determination and discipline, noting her ability to inspire those around her. But her closest friends noticed subtle changes as her relationship with Mark deepened. Chloe, once the life of every gathering, became more withdrawn. She began skipping outings, her attention often fixed on her phone. The vibrant cheerleader who had once been a symbol of Ridgway's pride was slowly disappearing, replaced by someone in a web of secrecy and emotional turmoil. Her behavior became increasingly erratic. Chloe's friends grew concerned as she withdrew from group activities and avoided conversations about her plans for the future. Late-night phone calls and whispered conversations hinted at a deeper struggle, one that she seemed unwilling to share. The cracks in Chloe's cheerful facade were becoming impossible to ignore. The relationship between Mark and Chloe began innocently enough. Mark had been invited to speak at Ridgway High School's career day, sharing stories of his work as a state trooper. Chloe, captivated by his confidence and charm, stayed behind to ask questions. Mark, flattered by her interest, gave her his contact information, ostensibly for career guidance. Their initial exchanges were professional, with Chloe seeking advice about her future. But as weeks turned into months, their conversations took a more personal turn. Mark confided in Chloe about his marital struggles, while Chloe shared her feelings of loneliness. Their bond deepened, and by spring, their relationship had crossed a line. They began meeting in secret, their rendezvous carefully planned to avoid suspicion. For Chloe, Mark represented stability and excitement. a combination she found intoxicating. For Mark, Chloe was a distraction from the pressures of his marriage and career. Their affair became a dangerous addiction, one that they both knew could not last. As their relationship intensified, Chloe's expectations grew. She envisioned a future where Mark would leave Emily and start a new life with her. Mark, however, was torn between his desires and the fear of losing everything. He made promises he couldn't keep, fueling Chloe's hope while deepening his own guilt. Mark's attempts to maintain control over the situation became increasingly desperate. He insisted on secrecy, warning Chloe of the consequences if their relationship were exposed. But Chloe's growing frustration and need for validation pushed her to test the boundaries of their fragile arrangement. By early summer, tensions between Mark and Chloe reached a breaking point. Chloe, frustrated by Mark's reluctance to end his marriage, began pressing him for answers. Her texts grew more frequent and emotional, filled with pleas for commitment and threats to expose their affair if he didn't act. Mark, feeling cornered, started to pull away. He avoided Chloe's calls and canceled meetings, hoping to create distance. But Chloe wasn't willing to let go. Her friends noticed her growing agitation. She became withdrawn, her once radiant smile replaced by a look of constant worry. One friend later recalled Chloe saying, "I just want him to choose me." In the weeks leading up to her death, Chloe's behavior became increasingly erratic. She showed up unannounced at Mark's workplace, demanding to talk. She confided in a close friend about the relationship, though she kept Mark's identity a secret. "He's everything to me," she said, her voice trembling. But her desperation was met with silence from Mark, who was growing more paranoid by the day. On July 14th, Mark invited Chloe to the cabin, promising a private conversation to resolve their issues. Chloe arrived hopeful, but the evening quickly spiraled into chaos. Chloe demanded that Mark make a choice, her or Emily. She threatened to reveal their affair if he didn't commit to her. Mark, consumed by fear and anger, snapped. In a fit of desperation, he grabbed Chloe by the neck and strangled her. When her body went limp, the weight of his actions hit him. Panicked, he spent hours cleaning the scene, wiping down surfaces, and disposing of Chloe's belongings to cover his tracks. As he drove away, Mark's mind raced. He knew the evidence he had destroyed wouldn't be enough to hide the truth, but his fear of losing everything pushed him to act irrationally. At home, he feigned normalcy, but Emily noticed his distant demeanor. She later recounted, "He seemed distracted, like his mind was somewhere else." Mark's actions that night were calculated but riddled with mistakes. Investigators would later find fibers from his uniform on Chloe's clothing and faint traces of her makeup on the dashboard of his car. These overlooked details would prove crucial in unraveling the case. Detective Bennett and her team worked tirelessly to piece together the events leading to Chloe's death. Surveillance footage placed Mark's vehicle near the cabin on the night of the murder, and forensic evidence linked him to the crime scene. Chloe's phone records, recovered from the cloud, revealed a string of texts exchanged with Mark, painting a damning picture of their affair. Mark's colleagues began to whisper about his unusual behavior in the days following Chloe's death. He had taken sudden leave from work and avoided social interactions, fueling suspicion. Meanwhile, Chloe's family held a vigil in her honor, their grief intensifying the pressure on law enforcement to find her killer. The case against Mark grew stronger as more evidence came to light. Forensic analysis revealed partial fingerprints on the ropes used to bind Chloe, matching Mark's. Cell tower records placed both Chloe and Mark in the vicinity of the cabin on the night of her death. Piece by piece, the puzzle came together, leaving little doubt about Mark's involvement. On July 20th, Mark was arrested. The image of the respected state trooper being led away in handcuffs sent shockwaves through Ridgway. During his trial, the prosecution detailed the affair and the events leading up to Chloe's death, portraying Mark as a man driven by fear and selfishness. Mark's defense argued that the killing was unintentional, a moment of rage fueled by stress. But the overwhelming evidence of his attempts to cover up the crime left little room for doubt. In December 2018, Mark was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Emily, devastated by the revelations, filed for divorce, choosing to leave Ridgway and rebuild her life elsewhere. Chloe's death left an indelible scar on the community, sparking conversations about power, trust, and the consequences of forbidden desires. The cabin, once a place of joy, remained abandoned, a haunting reminder of the tragedy. Chloe's family established a foundation in her memory, advocating for young women vulnerable to manipulation. Ridgway would never be the same, its tranquility forever shattered by the secrets it harbored. The trial and its aftermath prompted changes within the Ridgway Police Department. Stricter protocols were introduced to address professional conduct, ensuring that similar abuses of power would not go unchecked. While these reforms offered some solace, they could not erase the lingering pain of Chloe's loss. The story of Chloe Matthews and Mark Reynolds serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and forbidden relationships. If you're captivated by true crime stories like this one, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Stay tuned for another shocking tale in our next episode.